Bill Panoff here for Porthole Cruise Magazine. The big news this week is Norwegian Cruise Line announces its return date. But what we're all aching to know is when can we sail again from our favorite U.S. home port? Here to talk more about the exciting news and what's to come is the President and CEO, Harry Summers. Harry, great to have you here once again.
You know, Bill, always a pleasure to join you on your show. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. Let's talk a little bit about the big news. July 25th, NCL will resume cruise operations in Europe and August 7th in the Caribbean. Tell us all a little bit about these sailings, if you could.
Well, Bill, thank you so much. We're really super excited to restart. As you know, we've been out of operation since last March, and our guests have been really asking for us to come back to operation. So, thankfully, when things started getting a little bit better in the United States back in the middle to late February, we started looking around the world to see where it is that our guests would most like to go. In a typical summer, our two most popular itineraries are Alaska and the Greek Isles. Unfortunately, Alaska, at least for the time being, is still not quite yet approved. Right. But the Greek Isles certainly is. So we reached out to the tourism minister and the rest of the government in Greece, and we said, we'd love to come back. Would you like to have us? And their only question was, well, maybe not tomorrow, but if you want to come anytime from June forward, we would love to have you come back. So we said, great, that's a win. We think we can start in July. It takes us a little bit of time to start up our ships. So we set out an itinerary that we believe is going to be absolutely a fantastic guest experience. Rockly on Rhodes, Mykonos, Santorini, Olympia, and Corfu, basically all the greatest hits. 1 week, get to see everything. We spend 10, 11 hours a day in each port, and we think our guests are going to have a fantastic time. So then we sort of looked at this side of the world, and we said, okay, where is it, if we can't start from a U.S. port quite yet, where is it that Americans like to travel? And, we did a little research because we're really used to starting out from Miami, Port Canaveral, sure. New York, U.S. ports. And we realized that Punta Cana and Montego Bay are the two most visited destinations in the Caribbean by Americans year in, year out. Even now, especially Punta Cana, very popular among Americans, even this winter. And we said, okay, if that's where Americans want to go, plenty of airlifts, wonderful destinations, let's reach out to those governments and see, okay, would you like for us to come back? And we received such a warm welcome. From Jamaica, we met with the tourism minister, wants to come out. But I have to say, the Dominican Republic really went above and beyond. They invited us to personally visit the island. I was there in mid-February. I met with the president. He's a huge supporter of tourism in general and the cruise industry specifically. And we said, we can really operate, starting a little further south than we normally do, we can really operate some fantastic itineraries. So, out of Montego Bay, we visit our private island in Belize, Harvest Caye. It's fantastic. And we also go to Roatan in Honduras, Cozumel, and Ocho Rios. And on the itinerary that leaves from Punta Cana, we get to visit 4 beautiful islands: Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Martin, and Antigua. We think our guests are going to love them. So, Bill, we put them on sale yesterday. And oh my God, we sold the most cruises I've ever sold on 3 ships in one day. So we are absolutely thrilled with the guest reception we've received.
Will you have enough ships for the pent-up demand? It seems like the pent-up demand may exceed the number of ships you have.
As Frank Del Rio, the group CEO, has repeatedly said, customer demand isn't the issue. When we look forward to 2022, we are booked way ahead, not a little bit, way ahead of where we were at this time 2 years ago for 2019. And of course, 2019 was a record year for the brand and the company. So we're not worried about demand. But when you talk about standing up ships, Bill, it's an important point. We're not in a rush. This isn't a race to see who can stand up ships. It's more a race who can stand up ships best. And we think taking a measured approach, maybe standing up 1 ship every 7 to 10 days, is a recipe to provide our guests with the absolute best experience. So that's what we're committed to. We announced 3 ships for July and August. It's possible we can also stand up some ships in the U.S. I'm sure you'll ask me about that later on in the conversation. And I think that's okay for the summer. And then come September, October, we can stand up additional ships past those.
Yesterday, Harry, at the press conference, you mentioned the CDC color-coded ship classifications as a step backwards. Do you feel this will stick, or do you, so to speak, there will be enough pressure that the CDC may reevaluate the restrictions here?
I'll say, CLIA came out with a statement, Bill, that they were disappointed with the new CLIA guidance, and being part of CLIA, I share that statement that the industry as a whole was disappointed. I think they added a number of additional bureaucratic steps to guidance that had previously been issued, additional color coding. They now want us to test our crew daily, even though our plan is to fully vaccinate our crew. So I'm not sure how fully vaccinated crew needs to be tested daily, even though they're not interacting with any people outside the ship. That sort of befuddles us a little bit. It was sort of a tale of two announcements on Friday. We were so elated in the morning on Friday when the CDC basically came out and said, if you're fully vaccinated, you're good to travel. And we said, that's great, because we had been planning for a while to announce this week. Our announcement predates the CDC guidance, of course, or at least the planning for the announcement predated the CDC guidance, that we were going to require 100% vaccinations, 100% for every passenger and every crew member. If you can't get vaccinated, we prefer you, we will not let you on our ships for the first few months in order to provide the safest possible experience. So, we were going to be announcing that on Tuesday. When the CDC came out Friday morning and said fully vaccinated people can travel, I'm thinking, bingo, that's it. It's fantastic. We're done. We will have fully vaccinated people so that we can travel. And then they sort of took the cruise industry to the side and said, except for you. And, I'll tell you, the part that puzzles us is when you think of every other leisure activity out there, movies, bars, restaurants, theme parks, hotels, resorts, everything out there, stadiums, everything's open. Everything is 100% open, yet none of them have the same strict protocols that we're proposing. I'm not aware of any venue in the United States that requires you to be vaccinated before you come on. But on top of that, it's not just about vaccinations, it's vaccinations plus. We are going to test everyone before they step foot on the ship. We will test everyone before they leave the ship, before they return home. We upgraded the filters. We have medical grade, hospital grade, filters on board our ships. We have social distancing, reduced capacity. We're going to require mask wearing indoors as long as the CDC deems it necessary. We will have Surex bubbles for the first 5 to 6 weeks of operations. We're all in. It's not just vaccinations, it's vaccination plus. There is not a single leisure activity in this country, or quite frankly, anywhere in the world, with the possible exception of Israel, that has that level of requirements in order to attend. We simply put, we believe that a cruise on NCL will be the safest leisure activity on the planet. And against that backdrop, yes, we do believe that the CDC will rethink their misguided guidance. And hopefully reconsider and come back to us with a favorable reply in the near future.
What is your reaction to the CDC requirement for cruise lines to only be able to use embarkation gangways once every 12 hours and never for different ships? Do you feel the cruise lines differ from airlines in this respect?
Bill, if I'm being perfectly honest, which I like to be, I think it's borderline ridiculous. And I don't use that word lightly. Yes, you look at an airplane where the same jetway is used for 8 or 10 planes on a single day. And in a world where we will have 100% of our guests vaccinated and tested before boarding, the requirement that they can't share a gangway with another ship just seems to be absolutely misguided. I hate to use the same word twice, but it's the best term that I can come up with. So yes, we are disappointed with the CDC guidance, and we hope that they listen. We hope that they listen and that they come in open-minded. We're not here to insult or demean anyone. We're here to have a serious conversation, and I invite Dr. Walensky to come meet with us. We'd be happy to fly up to Atlanta to see her anytime that she'd like to see us. We'll drive, we'll get in a plane, whichever way she thinks safest is to visit. I've personally been vaccinated twice, but I'll wear a mask and be tested before seeing her because I believe in protocols, and I'm happy to meet with her at any time that she likes.
Are you currently working with the ports on an emergency plan and facilities in case there is an outbreak?
Bill, we already have that in place for our vessels that are starting from Athens and Punta Cana and Montego Bay. We had to work with those ports to put those things in place. Now, quite frankly, we're smart people, and the governments are pretty responsible there. So our agreements are fairly straightforward. They understand what safety protocols we're putting in place in order to assure safe cruises. They're happy with those, but we have agreements in case a rare positive case does come off that we can disembark the guests in the next available port and they can receive treatment. We've already stated within our protocols that if a guest is sick and requires hospitalization, that we'll help with that. We'll make sure that we arrange for safe passage home. We're not going to just drop someone off on the side of the road and one of our guests on the side of the road, or one of our crew for that matter, on the side of the road, and leave them to fend for themselves. We will take care of them, and the governments realize that with the extraordinary level of protocols and safety that we're taking, the chances of such cases, certainly such cases leading to hospitalization, are extraordinarily rare. You know, in the cruise industry, I'm sure you've seen the statistics, Bill, that some other cruise lines or the combination of cruise lines out there have moved over 400,000 guests since the summer, less than 50 cases, no outbreaks, all traced, no hospitalizations, no fatalities, and that's without vaccines. So we're pretty comfortable with vaccines. It'll be safe. But, you know, it's interesting that even there, the CDC, you know, when they put together requirements, they put a 7-page checklist on what an agreement will look like. Like the CDC understands our business. They don't. We don't need a 7-page checklist. We've been operating cruises for 53 years. We know how to work with ports and provide a safe experience for our guests, Bill. I see you're laughing because it does sound funny when you say it. And I hope if the CDC is listening, they hear it and it sounds funny to them as well.
Harry, as we discussed, NCL is now one of the major cruise lines that will require proof of vaccination to cruise, with many conversations surrounding the U.S. issued vaccine card as not enough proof for global travelers compared to the World Health Organization vaccination passport. What will NCL be accepting as proof of vaccination?
Yeah, it's a good question, Bill. You know, it's hard to look in the future and see what will be available for proof in at the end of July when we stand up our first cruise out of Athens. You know, our intention is whatever is required at the time for airlines and other venues will likely require for our guests as well. So if we were cruising today, the only thing an American has is that CDC card, and that's we're happy to accept that. If the vaccine apps and things like that move forward, we're happy to accept that as well. But I think, Bill, it's a little bit premature. I don't think people should be overly worried about proof. If they've taken the vaccine, they'll be able to get proof. And let's see where we are in July, and we'll make the appropriate decision then.
Good. Well, this very positive news is super exciting for Norwegian and for the industry as well. And look forward to it. And we can toast together. Harry Summers, President and CEO of Norwegian Cruise Line. Thanks so much. Bill Panoff here for Porthole Cruise Magazine.